Rio Hondo Prep football is one of the best kept secrets in all of Southern California. As one of the smallest enrollments year in and year out, the Cares have won 14 CIF championships and have been one of the most successful programs throughout their history. Welcome to A Charge to Keep, the official podcast of Rio Hondo Prep football. And now, bringing you the latest news and content from his alma mater, a CIF champion in 2001. From the class of 2003, here's your host, Matt Ursima.
What is up, Rio Hondo football fans? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you, wherever you are listening, whenever I should say you're listening to the Charge to Keep podcast. Welcome back. Well, we have a recap show today, like we do every weekend, from our Week 9 matchup last night that occurred down in West Los Angeles. And unfortunately, our Rio Hondo Prep Cares are no longer undefeated. They fell to the Brentwood Eagles 34-13. And I think for most people in attendance, they saw that, it really wasn't even that close. Unfortunately, it was 34-0 until about 2 minutes left, and we scored and then got a quick fumble and scored again. But that was all kind of in vain to avoid the shutout, whatever. But a very tough night for the Rio Hondo Prep Cares, for the players, coaches, alumni, fans, everybody. Just a night that wasn't meant to be, I guess. And Coach Carson spoke briefly with me after the game, talking about the team was outplayed, outcoached, and I'm sure we'll get to more of him today. But you know what? The sun did rise today, as we often say on the podcast, when bad things happen. I look at it as something that I think maybe this team needed. You scratch your head when you drive home, after that game last night, and as it was going on, and you're just kind of like, man, we can't get anything going. And really, Brentwood, a solid football team all around. I thought they won all three phases of the game and took it to us for the second time in a year. Last year, it was competitive for a good chunk of the game. This game, going into halftime, really, it was pretty much all she wrote after we couldn't get a score there on our first drive of the second half. So lots to talk about with Coach Carson, which we will do today, and try to make some sense of as to what happened, and if maybe this is just something that every now and then happens to a football team, and it's a challenge. I mean, good teams in the NFL lose, good teams in college lose. It happens at high school as well, and sometimes you're up against a team that's a little better than you. I don't think that football team is 34 points better than us. And I say 34. I know we lost by 21, but all things considered, that was a 34-0 for a good chunk of the fourth quarter anyway. So I don't think that team is that much better than our guys. I think they are better than our team is, at least last night and the year before. But I think the challenge to the boys is to kind of look around and be like, okay, we've stepped up a few times this year up against some tough opponents, most notably Torrance and Kings Academy, right? Some very noble opponents on the other sideline. But this was a different animal, and I think Rio ran into it. I would rather something like this happen during the season and not in, say, a playoff game. So I hope it opened the eyes of the boys that, hey, we've been doing a lot of great things, but maybe we haven't been doing enough. Maybe we've slacked a little bit in just some little areas. I'm speculating, right? I was a high school kid once, and you think you're on top of the world. You think you're doing everything right. And especially when you got the podcast, you get all this high praise all the time and newspaper clippings. We're human beings. If you don't think that doesn't get into a young man's head, well, I mean, I guess you didn't live that life years ago, because anytime I remember seeing my name in the paper, it was a special juice and a jolt, right? And I'm not saying these guys are big-headed by any means. I am no means knocking the boys and their effort, not at all. I was proud of the guys for fighting hard and for working hard, and even in a lopsided loss, they played hard, and I think they just knew that. I was looking at the boys, last night and seeing kind of in their eyes, there was disappointment, but there was also a sense of, we're not letting this happen again. And so that was encouraging. And I think the things that need to be fixed will get fixed. And sometimes that comes from within. That comes from a team and their leadership, and like, hey, we let this thing slip, or we've been doing that, and maybe it didn't get exposed until last night. You don't know. That's the beauty of football, especially high school football, is that things can be going great and everyone's on board. Oh, life is good, man. The podcast, we got inaugurals, we got homecomings. Life is good, 8-0. And then boom, you get punched. Someone lands a right hook on you. You're like, whoa, where did that come from? All right, let me get up. And it's how you get up. It's how you respond that makes you a better man and makes you the Rio Hondo Prep care that we can all be proud of. And we're still proud of this team. It's not like everything's done and over with. Many Rio Hondo teams did not go undefeated. Most of them don't. And I would, most of us have had an embarrassing loss or two or multiple on our resumes. And I can think of a few myself: losing at homecoming, getting destroyed by Bloomington Christian, losing to man, there was just a lot of games through Flint Ridge Prep. We couldn't beat those guys. Lost by 1 point one year and 2 points the next year. Just, it's frustrating sometimes. And it is what it is. It's the same reason we love this stuff. It's emotion. It's all tied in there, right? Love and hate or whatever. It's all connected somewhere. And I'll be honest with you guys, man, coming to my audience here and just being open, like the past few months for me, I felt like I've been getting beat 34-13, if you know what I mean. Like the podcast has been uplifting to me in a personal sense. And, we all go through things like that. And I've been going through it the past few months. I keep my life mostly private, but yeah, man, it's a good lesson sometimes to be like, all right, what you've been doing isn't good enough, or maybe you appear to be good enough. And it's time to step up and make some changes. So you live and learn. Not all losses are meaningless. A lot of lessons are learned through adversity, and we're going to learn a lot about this team moving forward. Today on the show, we have head coach Mark Carson, as always, and we are going to be joined by junior offensive and defensive lineman Ivan Tkach, who is also a big-time water polo player. So we're going to have a fun conversation with him just about what life is like in the trenches, on land and in the water, land warfare and water warfare, if you will. So I'm curious to hear about his story and how he got to Rio Hondo, and just what his junior year has been like, as he didn't play football of any kind until last season as a sophomore, and jumped right in and was a big time contributor. So can't wait to talk to Ivan. Unfortunately, he has to talk to us after a loss, but you know what? Someone's got to do it. I try to spread these things out. I didn't plan who's going to talk after what game necessarily. I kind of make that decision a little last minute, and I wanted to talk to Ivan. I thought he'd be a good guy to bring on after, rather intense game last night. And he was working hard in the trenches and, made us proud with his great effort. So a young man that I think you guys will really enjoy hearing from. But as promised, as we go every Saturday morning here, we bring on our fearless leader, head coach Mark Carson, to break down everything that occurred last night. And I don't know, maybe there's nothing to be said. Maybe this is just a game film you burn and you move forward, or who knows? Maybe it can lead to some motivation for his players. I promise you this: head coach Mark Carson will not go quietly. He is not one to retreat. He is one more to displace and refortify his position, if you know what I mean, to use kind of some military tactics and things there. So I think the troops are a little beaten after last night's game, but they are not broken, and they're ready to move forward and to finish this thing off. And definitely an eye-opening moment for the team. So with that said, let's now go to the eye of the tiger, head coach Mark Carson, our fearless leader, to talk about the current status of the football team and to, I don't know, maybe just react after a tough 34-13 loss at Brentwood last night. Let's go to him, HCMC head coach Mark Carson. All right, guys, we are now joined once again this fine Saturday afternoon with head coach Mark Carson. Coach, how are you, sir?
Hey, well, what's the best expression? We just got back from the JVs who got beat actually by more than the varsity did last night. So I guess the word would be humbled, very humbled. We kind of left Brentwood a few hours ago with our tail between our legs, proverbial, as my dog walks by over here. Humbled and at the same time ready to get back to work. And we're not pouting. We're not gonna we're gonna learn from it. And if it had to happen, it's better to happen now than in the playoffs or even the week before the playoffs. We kind of get a week to tune up and tighten things up, so to speak, and get after it this week with a good week of practice, and then playoffs the following week.
Well, Coach, I got my Ultimate Fighting Championship, my UFC shirt on. I mean, I'm ready. We're knocked down, but we're getting back up, and we're fighting. We're not out of this one. We're just displacing, maybe redeploying, if you will. And so I think there's there's no retreat on this football team.
No retreat. There's no option to do that. Yeah, you gotta regroup. And great thing about football, great thing about sports, you get to go back out there. And so thankfully, this wasn't the last game of the season, because that would have been, real tough one to swallow in your season like that. We got a lot to play for, a lot ahead of us. So.
Mm-hmm. And Mark, it's not easy coming on here on the podcast answering questions from me, although we're just kind of chatting about the game, if you will, and the program. The alma mater is a little difficult to sing after a loss like that. I mean, 34-13. I was talking in the intro here, Mark. That was really a 34-0 game. You did scratch in some points there, but it wasn't as close as even the scoreboard indicated. My first question is, like, in a game like that, are there lessons to be learned on the game film, or is that something you just burn and throw away and say, all right, guys, let's move on?
I think you watch the film and you definitely got to learn from it, because there's, we got exposed on both sides of the ball in things that we're not good at. And so you definitely got to learn. But that'll be done on Monday. And then your focus turns laser focused to our next opponent. But I think, it's not something that we're just gonna, oh God, we're gonna move on. That was an aberration. No, because it wasn't like we played great and lost to and just lost the game in a tight game. We didn't play great and we got blown out. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it was essentially 34-0. I mean, that was generous 2 touchdowns at the end.
Yeah, and I'm not here to bash the guys' efforts or to the coaching staff, or we're not here to do that. We're here to kind of, gain some perspective. I will say, I know the parents are frustrated, the alumni is frustrated, the boosters are hey, this is the first loss of the season. I think it's good to see some adversity. I think worst case scenario last night is we play a close game and lose by a few points or something, thinking, okay, we're going to be fine. I think this game really kind of proved, hey, what we've been doing is good, but if you want to elevate to the next level, it's kind of not good enough, right?
Exactly. Right. And we got to realize we can't take things for granted. And just think we could show up, and I think that malaise may have kind of settled over the program, and that falls on me. Not keeping the fire to the guys. We actually thought we had a pretty good week of practice, but just maybe some little things that not keeping the guys' feet to the fire, to use a cliche. And it crept up on us and got us. And not to take anything away from Brentwood, that's the guy who's going to be playing on Saturdays in the fall somewhere. And great quarterback, probably the best quarterback we've faced in our 20 years here, at least in the 11-man era. So we don't want to take anything away from them, and I'd be cheaping it to say that. But yeah, we didn't play our best football. So cool thing is, there's a shot we might see him in the playoffs, and man, that'd be fun.
What an opportunity. What an opportunity that would be. And I do know this, Mark, whoever you guys face in the playoffs, it's going to be a team like a Brentwood. We've talked about the Torrance game, the Kings Academy game, very valiant opponent, very good opponents, and got teams that are going to, I think, be pretty good down the road. And you guys answered the bell on those. I think Brentwood was a little different animal. And it's really interesting. Again, the reason we love football is just how close the distance is between, a B+ team and an A+ team. It's not, the margin is not that far apart.
Yeah. We operate on very narrow margins, especially our style of play and how we win. We got to do a lot of things really, really well. And you do a few things poorly, all of a sudden we go from a really good looking team to an average team that's going to get beat like that against a good team. And so And that's again on me as the head coach and our staff to tighten that stuff up. Because
if you would, if you can, you don't have to, if you want to keep it candid, that's totally fine. What did you tell your team last night, after you spoke with me briefly? I mean, what was the message to the guys in the locker room?
Basically we got out coached and outplayed and, embarrassed. That was it. And kind of ripped into them a little bit, for not being the aggressors, the preparation part is on the coaches, but hitting, we're not on the field. And so we got to go hit. And so not hitting, and then ended it kind of with, planting the seed of hope, like, hey, our season and everything we want to do is still in front of us. Mm-hmm. And it starts with a great week of practice starting on Monday, and game on Friday at home, and so we win Friday, we know we're in the playoffs, and that's what we set out to do when we started the season, and that's what our goal is: get in the playoffs and make a run.
Yeah, I think you can't take any game for granted. And Campbell Hall, which we'll get to in a minute, they're a little down this year, but at this point, anything can happen. They're coming off a bye week, which is weird in week 9, but Rio's got to step up, and it's kind of like a recharging scenario. And Mark, I try to give people and the fans, I try to give people access while at the same time being respectful of the boys and the coaching staff and everything. I never want to give anything away really, but it was just like, I kind of looked at the guys on the sideline last night after the game, and there was a little bit of shock in their eyes, kind of like, what happened type of a thing. I don't think I'm sharing anything too personal there. I think everybody saw that. And I think the boys, I don't know exactly what to say besides, they did seem a little awestruck in what happened.
Yeah. You want them to have that swag and that expectation to win every game. And then when you don't, you're kind of shocked, and it's good. We hope we have their attention now, because again, we operate on very narrow margins, and whether it's the number of players and you have a few injuries, how that affects you, to execution, to the discipline involved, to the focus that's involved to beat a good team. It's got to all be there for us. We're not a stable of elite athletes that's just going to show up and just, no matter what, dominate people, and so loss like this, I think, will bring that, hopefully shock them enough to bring us back, and get on it this week.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what other choice do you have, really? And there's no other option. It's like last night, wasn't good enough, whatever happened, whatever the case was. So we know everyone's frustrated, and never want to see the guys lose. We promote the program and want nothing but success. But hey, sometimes you get punched and land on the canvas, and it's how you get back up. And John Lee had a great inspirational video for us last week. He wrote me in here today, our good friend from Oregon, and John's been on some good teams, some not so good teams, so I think he can relate. But he said, success and accolades are not the indicators of one's character. Growth and grace in failure is how we are defined, and is the truest peak behind who the man actually is and what he believes. Getting up off the canvas defines us significantly more than any victory can. I appreciate that sentiment, John, and thanks for writing in. And I think, pretty true words there.
Yep. E plus R equals O, right? Event plus response equals outcome. How are we going to respond? Right? How are we going to respond? And I think number one, our goal is we're never going to get out hit again, which I think Torrance, Kings, other teams you mentioned all the way through the season, we were always out hitting. And I think we got out hit last night. So that's where it starts. It's football, and then getting better in other areas too. But getting up and responding. So it'll be a good test for our guys. We'll see our leaders and see how we respond.
Here's a question I have, just kind of insight into your coaching mentality and kind of the science to it, I guess you would say. You're working with teenage boys who got a lot going on and kind of getting through to them. How do you balance out, Mark, the energetic, I don't know how else to say it, scolding or whatever you want to call it, just the intensity of getting after a guy versus kind of that nurturing portion of coaching too. That's got to be quite the song and dance sometimes, especially on nights like last night.
Yeah, and with you hit the nail on the head. Teenagers, you know, everyone knows a teenager. Everyone can relate. They're unpredictable, right? They're emotional, right? And they're not adults, right? Even though they're out playing a game in front of, you know, last night's crowd. I was guess there were probably close to 1,000 people there. You know, it was a huge crowd, and like, but they were kids, right? They're closer to being adolescents than they are adults, essentially. You know, but and so it's a great question. You got to have that relationship with them, right? You can really drill down and be hard on a guy that you have a good relationship with, as opposed to not a good relationship, a good and lengthy relationship. You know, you can't I don't think you can't you know, excoriate a guy who's brand new to the program, right? Or just get after him. They don't know what you expect. But the guys who know what the expectation is, those are the guys you can be the hardest on. And I think they want it, they know it, they appreciate it, even though they might not like it at the time. But hopefully, you know, we're not there to be their best friend, right? And hopefully down the road, they appreciate us getting on them. At the same time, sometimes all it is, you know, a hug. You just need to give them a hug, pat on the back, you know, encouraging fist bump, whatever it is. And sometimes it's that. And it's really just knowing the guys. All the guys react differently. You know, several of our guys, they knew it last night, and they, you know, they were felt apologetic, you know, like, man, coach, like, and you know, you don't have to say sorry, man, you played hard. And it was the guys you would, you know, Nate's the one that said that to me, and who you know, he had 130 yards rushing and never came off the field. Essentially, it's like, Nate, you got nothing to apologize for, dude. Like, you were awesome. So, it's a fine balancing act, though, and keeping that equilibrium. Again, it's one of those things. We work really hard on being intentional and keeping them on the right track. And it's one of those things that even that gets off, right? The emotional side of it affects the team, and you know, so that's the really fun part too. It's a fun challenge, right?
Yeah, and I think, you know, we all yell sometimes because we care. You know, it's sometimes you have these outbursts and you're just like, wait, why did I just do that? You know, even as a sideline guy, I'm like, okay, bring it down a little bit. And everyone is frustrated. And you know what? For most Rio Hondo alums listening, there's a game or two maybe in our careers that we all look back on. I'm like, oh yeah, that was a really, really rough night. And hopefully there wasn't too many of those, but I could think of a few in my playing days. Mark, you know, you had some embarrassing losses too. And I think I say the word embarrassing again, not to knock our guys, but I do think it was kind of a rather embarrassing loss and everybody knows that. It's not like some secret or whatever. So, but it's happened to all of us. And I'm looking myself right in the mirror here and saying it's been a few nights where that happened. And you're just like, man, the good thing is you're like, I do not want that to happen again.
Yeah, exactly. And it's football. You know, the other team has coaches and players trying to do exactly to us what we try to do to them, you know. And so it's gonna happen, and thankfully for us anyway, it didn't happen on our last game. And so
was there ever a moment, Mark, I'm putting you on the spot again, back to your playing days, or maybe back when you were an assistant coach, or anything you remember like a loss like this where maybe there wasn't anything that could be said, but maybe somebody did say something that was kind of like inspiring, whether it's Coach Johnson, Coach Drain. I don't know, any lessons learned from the past that you can remember in a tough loss?
Man, I go back to the 2012 year, you know, one of our better teams beat Arcadia High School, then host Mission Prep the next week. And I think we lost 42-0 and just got destroyed in every facet of the game. And I remember sitting in the training room after the game as a home game, and me and Randy, we were just like, what in the world just happened? And then, talking to Mr. Drain, and that was kind of like, okay, now we know what we got to do. Because they were back then, you knew who was in your division, right? And you knew who you were going to face in the playoffs. And we knew, okay, we have essentially, I think it was week 2. So we had like, all right, we got about 10 weeks to get it right, because if we're going to win a championship, we got to play them. And so the more just a sense of resolve, and just like, all right, let's go. And we're not going to, we were 8-0, right? We're not going to overhaul our entire team or change how we do things. It's just really just kind of chiseling away at the sculpture and refining it and getting it to where it needs to be. That's really what we got to do. It's not the time to have a rash change in everything. Like, oh, no more of this, or it's just, and we've been talking about stuff we're going to do this week. And so we'll see.
Well, I appreciate the access constantly. It's easy to come on it's easy to talk. And when things are going great, yeah, let's do the podcast. Let's bring a guy. Let's do sideline stuff. Oh, the videos are great. But when we suffer, and I say we because we're all in this together type of, I hate that phrase usually, but in this case, it's cool. Whether you win or lose, man, you sing that alma mater, win or lose. Coach Carson comes on the podcast, win or lose. We're talking to a player afterwards. And today, I'm looking forward to this, Mark, talking with Ivan Tkach, your junior offensive and defensive lineman, Aquaman, Mr. Water Polo. So very much looking forward to that. What are your thoughts on Ivan Tkach and kind of how his season's been going?
Yeah. Before I get to Ivan, your other comments, just facing the music, right, is a life lesson, sometimes, and it's something that they're going to carry. Like, you fail a math test, you and the teacher and maybe your parent knows, that's it. Right. But you fail in front of 1,000 people, and it's on NFHS, and it's, and there's stories about it the next day. Everybody knows, and you got to face the music, and you got to live with it. And, chin up high and just take it. Right. And so there's lessons to be learned in losing too. Right. Oof. But anyway, back to Ivan. Yeah, great guy. Awesome football player. You mentioned Aquaman. Yeah, he plays water polo, club water polo. And when he knew coming in Rio that we didn't offer water polo, but his club schedule is able to work especially well with football, because there's no club water polo during the football season. And just an awesome player. And only getting better. This is only his second year playing, and you almost see improvement every game, every week with Ivan. Super humble dude. Will come up to every coach after practice and every game and say thank you and shake your hand. It's just the kind of guy he is. And big, strong guy. And I can't wait to see him the rest of the way this year and next year. And one of our team captains. So very well respected by the guys, and obviously respected by the coaches as well.
Big dude, man. He's putting on all kinds of muscle and good weight. It's just like, wow, look, you're in the water doing this stuff too. Like, unbelievable, man. But yeah, where he has come, where he's developed from, not only did he not play in Care Youth League, he never played football till his sophomore year, as you mentioned. And last year got thrown into it, and I thought had a great year. And man, he's really kind of been the anchor of the trenches there this year.
Correct. Yeah, he didn't play his freshman year. He kind of wanted to see what it was all about. New to Rio, and his parents, I think, were maybe a little leery of it, and not leery of it. And after they saw, I think, how our program operates and the benefits of how our guys grow from playing football, they said, "All right, we're going to let you do it." And he did it his sophomore year, and then this year as well, both year on varsity. So never really had a JV year or 8th grade year to kind of figure it out. He's just thrown into the fire.
Yeah. Let's go, kid. Throw these pads on. This is not the swimming pool. This is a football field. He's done quite well. Yeah. But Mark, I was fortunate to join you guys on team dinner on Thursday night. Much appreciation for the invite there, taking care of me and the other media guys there, Dave Guerrero, Mr. Bray. I think the Dang family kind of led the food charge there. Valerie Johnson. Well, that was some good eating, man.
Dang and Diaz. Yeah, we invited our commentating and Clark and Kyle, the commentator and play-by-play guy, but they couldn't come. And Chris. Yes, our team meals are always phenomenal. And it seemed like every week it's something different and something new. This was an entire pig roast, which was very interesting. And, a lot of sides that were really good too. And yeah, it was the Dang and Diaz family, and then Valerie, who's kind of the person running the whole show. She was there as well, Valerie Johnson. So we can't thank our parents enough for how much they pour into our guys. And we wanted to thank you guys for what you pour into us by inviting you to the meal. So yeah, glad you were able to come and enjoy that.
Well, I stuck around for kind of the post meal meeting you guys do, about 15 minutes or so. It's just kind of to take the fans into it. It had been a while since I've been to one, and wanted to hear Coach's speech there. And you talked, you had a video, you had a kind of a message there, a Bible verse attached to it all. I thought it was a great way to get the guys in the right frame of mind the night before a game. And you just kind of went over the details as to when you guys were leaving the next day, and just kind of confirming everything. And yeah, I have mad respect for the process of what it all goes into. And it was fun to experience. I wanted to share kind of that with the fans. You've been doing that a long time now, Mark. Where did you get that idea to have the pregame dinners the night before and all that?
Yeah. So we started that, I want to say 2003, maybe, right after you graduated, Matt, right?
Of course. Yeah.
And yeah, we got that idea from De La Salle High School in Concord, California, when they were on that massive winning streak. And we'd always done the game day meal, right? But they would do a meal the night before. And usually it's on campus. Sometimes it's at someone's house or whatever. But we just thought it's a really good way to get the guys in the right frame of mind, dialed in, right? And focused, get them right, make sure they're getting good food, kind of the practical side, and going over the logistics of the game. That's part of it too. And so, yeah, we've done it for the last, I guess it's 20 years now, every Thursday night before the games.
And do you have, I mean, it's always, I mean, I don't know, where do coaches come up with their messages? I mean, do you recycle some of these? Or, I mean, it's got to be difficult on a weekly basis, 10, 14 weeks, whatever it is, to come up with new material and stuff that guys haven't heard. So, man, where do you get some of your inspiration for some of these quotes and videos? I'm into it for sure. Yeah,
great question. Do we recycle? Yes. I try not to recycle more than like 4 years though. So, and that's just, so no one hears the exact same thing more than once, or at least 3 years, thinking that someone would be on varsity for 3 years. Right. But yeah, really it's just cherry picking off what other people do, other coaches that you read about or see on social media or whatever, getting ideas from them. And then stuff that's worked for us in the past. Guys always really seem to, we like showing a video because that always gets their attention, right? And guys really, you put some sort of war movie or military movie up there, or fighting, and they like watching that, right? And so gets their attention. So just mixing it up, and then I actually have a little file on my computer of stuff I've done, and kind of so I can go back to, okay. And then sometimes it's just coming up with something new, and really what the team needs to hear, that night.
Yeah, I mean, you've been doing it a long time, even as an assistant coach. And yeah, we used to not have those Thursday night meals. It was just, and for us back in the day, it was just like, all right, 2:00, get out of school, and we go to Chili's, or we'd go to, I don't know, Domenico's or something, and we had spend money at some restaurant. And I remember Coach Train, $0.25 for every dollar as far as tipping goes, or stuff. All those little things. But now, yeah, it's so much more. And plus, when you got amazing parents who want to help, I think the Thursday night and the Friday afternoon meals for home games anyway seem to work a lot better.
Yeah, keeps you from driving around more than you have to, and for the Friday meals anyway, keeps a good rhythm, and it gives the parents a chance to really get up and close with the football program, brings them in, and yeah, it's something that I think they enjoy. So it's almost a win-win. And feeding 40 to 45 people isn't cheap. So it's an investment on their part. Even though we tell them, guys, we're fine with just pasta and salad and water. Like, that's it. But we fight to that. It seems like they always want to one up each other, and, whatever. We're doing filet mignon this week, whatever. It's like, okay. But I think it's positive for the kids, right? And it's positive for obviously the players, and then the parents who get to kind of get up close contact with the team, and brings them in too.
Well, I bet the meals are going to start disappearing, after these blowout losses, Mark. I mean, it's just, we cannot stand for it. And yeah, well, we're taking that. Oh, no more podcast episodes. Nope, not doing that. I mean,
Take it away.
Kidding. I hope the kids realize just, all the many blessings they got going around them. All kidding and good fun, trying to make light of a tough situation.
That would be,
yeah, I had guys commenting on Facebook with the team dinner photo. Oh, the Sizzler, back in the day. It's just all reminiscing and things. So, Mark, the next opponent is Campbell Hall, the Campbell Hall Vikings, who you defeated on the road last year in a highly contested game, 19-7. The Vikings are down this year, to say the least. They had a victory at the first game of the year. They've lost 7 straight. So they're looking for the season to finish, but I think they would like nothing better than to maybe upset and stir the pot, push Rio Hondo Prep around.
Yeah, they lost a really special player. Their best player last year transferred out. And then they've had kind of a litany of injuries, and like most small schools, you get 4 or 5 injuries to key guys. It really affects you, And so, you mentioned it already. They're coming off a bye week. Who knows if some of those guys come back, which could definitely change their game a little bit. But they have players. They're well coached. They got good size. And so, and like you said, they'd like nothing more to kind of ruin our playoff hopes, right? So, good challenge for us. Obviously, it's a game that on paper we should win, right? But after last week, I think our guys are going to be very attuned at preparation and getting after it. So, looking forward to it. And it's cool that the 1973 team is going to be there on Friday. So I think that'll be a little added motivation, perform well for those guys.
Rio's first championship team 50 years ago in 1973. I had a few of them on the podcast in the summer. If you haven't had a chance to listen to that, go check that out. But that's pretty special. Mark, it's one big part of the podcast I love doing is bringing the old school, bringing all the things from the past to kind of the present and tying it together. I think that's really special. Anything special planned, a ceremony or anything?
Yeah, they're making a whole weekend out of it. So I think they're going to, Friday they're going out to eat, and then they're going to the game on Friday night. Obviously, we're going to have them in the locker room before the game, the team, just to kind of encourage the guys and kind of tie in, the past, whatever. And then I think there's a short ceremony at halftime. We dug up the old championship trophy from that year, and they're going to do a picture with it, trying to mimic the pose, I think, from how they posed after winning the championship back then. Mr. Dowd, their coach, will be there. And I think all but 2 players are confirmed coming. So a big crowd. It's the coach, the guys he played, their wives are coming. So it'll be really cool. And halftime, I think a small ceremony and a picture. Then I think Saturday they're going to tour the Rio's campus, which many of them haven't seen for 50 years, right? So that'll be really cool. I think they're doing something else Saturday, maybe going out to eat again or something. But I think that's the extent of it. But coming in from all over the country, which is really cool.
And I think seeing that this Friday, I think the kids and the families, especially, they'll be able to really, I think they do already, but able to see that this program means something to people and to those who've gone in it and to now where they end up in life for, guys, let's see, 17 plus 50. That means probably roughly 67-year-old guys, right? That, we're on this team and it still means something to them. So yeah, I hope the guys, it's a long time until they're the old men that we are, but right. one day they will be, and they'll be the guys coming back and touring the campus and all that stuff.
Exactly. And realizing that it's a powerful legacy, right? Mm-hmm. That they're, and your podcast says it all, a charge to keep, right? We're not just carrying the banner for this year. We're carrying the banner for everyone who's come before us and representing them. So it'll be a great night.
That is really cool. We'll try to pump that up on the pregame show a little bit. Fans are so great about getting to the games early, and especially last night on a really rough road trip. I mean, mm-hmm. I was yelling all kinds of things at drivers myself. Yeah.
405 on a maybe.
Yeah. Woo-wee. I mean, I will say, what? Sometimes Christianity is tested on the highways. That's all.
It was just as crowd. I mean, it was just as bad on a Saturday afternoon coming back today. It's like, dude, are you serious? But yeah. Appreciate all our fans always being there, man. And it's a blessing to have them around for sure. Right.
Yeah. And hopefully is there any food menu going on
There
Friday?
will be food. I usually don't get the menu till Monday morning, but whatever they're doing, there will be food. I guarantee it. Yeah. So,
okay. Well, sounds good. Hey, Mark, next week, let me just throw it out here on the podcast so everybody knows. Next week, Rio plays Friday. I believe the playoffs come out Sunday. Selections, I'm not sure. This is very poor scheduling on my part. I will be headed to Dallas next weekend to watch my Rams lose to the Cowboys. I don't know why I do this to myself, but it's just what I'm doing. So we may not be able to do the podcast till maybe Monday morning, or I don't know exactly what we're going to do, but we'll sort it out next week. Just wanted to give you and the fans a heads up, or they're like, wait, where's the podcast? So
yeah. You're going to have to take your Sunday morning coffee with something else than maybe our fans, right? Listening to something else. And whatever you got to do, Matt, we'll do it.
I'll do it. Maybe I'll do some kind of like quick hitter. Let's see, the time change, 2 hours. I don't know. I think the playoff selections are coming out like right at kickoff in Dallas at 12 o'clock. So most likely around the end of the first quarter, I'll be disappointed. I'll be able to put out all kinds of Rio Hondo Prep content. So that's the plan.
Hey, come on. Rams are they're doing better, aren't they?
They're doing better. Better, we'll say. Better is a good word.
Going to Jerry World.
What's that?
Going to Jerry World.
Yeah, that place is something, man. I can't believe they play the Texas high school championships there. That place is crazy. It's really cool. Well, Mark, I won't keep you too much more. I appreciate you coming on the pod, facing the music. I didn't get any calls from the fans or the boosters or anything, so I think we're all good. But usually, I think we get angry call. We heard stuff yelled from the stands last night.
What are we doing? Yeah, let's go. Yeah.
Oh, I have a great idea. Anyway, it's natural to yell stuff from the stands. And one thing I appreciate about you and the players, then everyone I've talked to, there's an accountability from you and the players. It seems like about, hey, this is on all of us type of deal. And it makes me, I'm even asking myself, what could I have done better this week? You know what I mean? So everyone's in this, everyone's in it for the wins. Everyone's in it for the losses, man.
Right. Great point. Yep.
Anyway, Mark, thanks again. Yep. Have a extra special week of practice and push those guys even harder, if you know what I mean.
You got it. Thanks, Matt.
We'll see you Friday night. Go Rio, man.
Go Rio.
Big thanks to Coach Carson for coming on the podcast and chatting with yours truly. It's a lot more fun after a win, but hey, man, we got to face some music together and talk about, what went right sometimes, what went wrong in cases like last night. And so just a game that unfortunately Rio takes on the chin, and hopefully it's a lesson learned and there can be some improvements made. No great story was written without some adversity in it, right? Every movie that has a great storyline, at some point in the plot, there is a moment where things go wrong, right? Or things are going smoothly and then, oh no, what just happened? Sometimes it's in those rom-coms, if you're into that stuff. I'm typically not, just, who am I kidding? But anyway, in a movie or a book, I don't read as much as I watch movies. That's what you see. So let that be a lesson, I guess, that all good things that are achieved are not throughout some adversity. And I think there's been some adversity on this team with some injuries and things of that nature throughout the year, but maybe this is the thing that they needed that will really jumpstart them into really putting something together here. As Mark mentioned in 2012, that loss to Mission Prep, that blowout loss to Mission Prep was quite embarrassing and brought Rio Hondo back down to earth after arguably the biggest, non-playoff win in school history with that win over Arcadia at the time. And I don't think Coach Carson finished the rest of that story in 2012 after losing 42-0 or something like that to Mission Prep in the second game of the season. Rio Hondo would come back and defeat Mission Prep in the 2012 CIF championship, the 14th in school history and the last one that we have been victorious in. So that story was written with some adversity, and maybe this one, this is just a chapter that we can close, turn the page and move on from, and still plenty of good content left in our story. We shall see how it goes. I know there was a lot of frustration on Friday night. I did just look at a play on film that I know a lot of people were angry about, and I was upset at the time, most specifically with the officials and their lack of communication on the play. It was a play that was an illegal man downfield. The lineman for Brentwood went way downfield on a screen pass. The ball was snapped at about the 37, and the wide receiver, it was a middle screen. He crossed in front of the umpire and caught the pass. It looked like right about the 36, maybe right at 37. So that was not, the lineman could go downfield if a pass is behind the line of scrimmage, not beyond. And in most cases in high school football, that's got to be a giant penalty anyway. The ball's got to clearly be over the line. The linemen have to clearly be down the field for, say, a forward pass that goes down the field. So they originally called that ineligible receivers downfield, and then ended up picking the flag up after a discussion, which never looks good. And as an official, in my experience, anytime we got together to talk, it was an uncomfortable feeling because you knew someone was going to get mad, whether you were right or wrong. But in my professional opinion, the officials were correct on that play. That was not ineligibles downfield. We can want it to be all we want. We can be angry at the process, but I got to call it like I see it. And I will point out when the officials get something wrong. And that particular play, which at the moment, at the time of the game, was kind of a game changer. To Brentwood, it had a huge play. It would have brought that back. Who knows what would have happened? I just want to point that out to fans, alumni, and people who, coaches even, who were a little mad. I talked to Coach Carson about it too, and wanted to mention that to everybody. So emotions run high, and sometimes our judgment lacks. And I was very angry at the play as well. But after looking at it on film, I do think it was correctly called, even though it did take an awkward discussion. Okay, enough of that stuff. We've talked to Coach Carson. I've kind of ranted there about movies and films and, turning and plots and all these things. And now the brief officiating moment for me there. But now let's get to our player portion of the podcast this week. That sounds so much better. Player portion of the podcast. I've been trying to think of something to say, not our player of the week, but sometimes you come up with stuff on the fly, and that's just the best way. We're not editing any of this out. Let's go. Let's roll, right? No takebacks, no re-kicking off of the game. We're going to be joined now by junior offensive and defensive lineman Ivan Tkach, who played a heck of a game last night in the trenches, battling through some adversity. And Rio, again, suffered a tough loss, but the guy's effort out there was still up there, and they're working hard, and you could see sometimes it's hard. We were all 16, 17-year-old young man once ourselves. And, when you're losing, it's tough to kind of stay positive and pick yourself up and just like, come on, we can do this. And you take more punches, and you're just like, so I was proud of the guys that they stuck with it. It was a frustrating night, and we've all been there. And so I hope they can regroup, redeploy, and kind of reinforce their defenses, or whatever you want to call it. I'm always tying in boxing and then military stuff to football, since it kind of makes a lot of sense. Anyway, the player portion of the podcast, Rio Hondo Prep junior offensive and defensive lineman Ivan Tkach. Let's bring him on the show now and get to know a little bit about him. Didn't go to Care Youth League, didn't come to Rio until he was a freshman a couple of years ago, and didn't play football until he was a sophomore. So a lot to talk about with him. Let's get to it. Mr. Ivan Tkach. All right, we are now joined by junior offensive and defensive lineman Ivan Tkach, who's also a big-time water polo player. What's going on this Saturday morning, Ivan?
Nothing much. Recovering a little bit. A little bit tired, but all good.
Yeah, man. The elephant in the room, unfortunately, is the loss last night. You have to come on here and talk to me. Unfortunately, a first guy on the season to have to talk after a loss. We don't have to dwell on it too much. We'll move on to kind of some better things. But I don't know, just kind of a rough night on the field last night, huh?
Yeah, it was definitely rough. I think we were getting beat off the line kind of throughout the entire game. I feel like we didn't really get to play our version of football. We were kind of stuck in just trying to get back, recover.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they really they stifled you guys. I thought you guys had some moments on offense, but then it just stalled. And then defensively, you guys just couldn't quite get to that quarterback, man. He was that Boone Lord. He's a slippery dude, really mobile and a strong arm. Yeah,
he was slippery.
Would you say, obviously the scoreboard showed it, but I mean, that had to be the toughest toughest game physically and just draining of the year, I got to imagine.
Yeah, it was tough. I think that after we started to get behind, some of the guys started to, I mean, they've never lost, but some of the guys never experienced a loss before. So they kind of didn't know how to maybe play through that a little bit. I think our attitude showed it obviously on the scoreboard, and we started to hang our heads a little bit low. And that, I mean, that doesn't help you come back at all.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? Sometimes losses are good. It is a wake up call at times. It humbles some people, and it's better now maybe than later in the season. So I think the true test for you guys will be how you guys respond to this, not just with next week's game, but beyond, paying attention to the details in practice and meetings and all those things. So I don't know. I think a loss can be a good thing. It hurts now, but what was the mood of the locker room with the guys? Was everyone kind of shocked, or was it kind of like, hey, we don't want to let this happen again?
A little bit of both, especially from different players. I think more of the younger guys were kind of bummed out. I mean, obviously everyone's bummed, but I think more the older guys, upperclassmen, they understand that, this isn't the end of the world, and that we can come back from this, and we need to come back stronger and tougher for next week.
Absolutely, man. Bouncing back. And like last year, you were on that team last year that lost to Brentwood after going 8-0. You had a great last game of the year against Campbell Hall, and then a heck of a game in that playoff game that arguably, we could have won, but fell short. So I think the fight is there in this team, and I have confidence in you guys, especially with, leadership of the upperclassmen like yourself. We'll move on to some more fun topics there, Ivan. Specifically, last year was the first year you played tackle football coming into Rio as a sophomore, and you were thrown right into the mix, man, with all those freshmen and Ryan McCullough and everything. So what was it like playing? We'll talk about water polo in a second, but I mean, jumping on to tackle football as a sophomore, having never played it before.
Yeah, it was quite an experience. I came in freshman year, and I didn't really have a aspiration to play. But after being a manager for a year and with seeing all my friends play, I really the brotherhood was growing on me. I really wanted to jump in there. So sophomore year, I finally convinced my parents to let me play. And I mean, yeah, just being thrown in the mix sophomore year, I kind of just had to adapt really quickly to it. And yeah, just playing with all those guys like Ryan, last year, Anthony too. It was really fun. I had a great time. I'm glad I decided to play.
Yeah, man, it's like that water polo combat on ground though, not in the water combat, water warfare you're used to. So, yeah, you kind of, was there not a fear, but you were hesitant maybe, but you played water polo, so football had to kind of come second nature to you.
Yeah, I mean, they're both very physical sports, a little bit different in that, not as much injury per se, I guess, that could be involved in water polo, but yeah, very physical still. And I kind of came a little bit naturally, like kind of hitting people, being physical already. So yeah, it was kind of came naturally.
Land warfare. That's what I was trying to say. But yeah, man, this year, this team, I mean, you came back. I mean, you look like you put on all kinds of muscle, man. You're, big dude and still growing. You had to come into this season really with a focused intensity that you were going to be one of the key contributors on this team. And that's what I've seen. How much have you been enjoying this season playing both sides of the ball in the trenches?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great experience. I love it. I'm glad that I came to Rio, because if I didn't, I think number one, I wouldn't even be playing football. And if I did decide to play football, I don't think you could be playing both sides maybe like this at other high schools, especially bigger high schools. I'm glad that the Lord's given me this experience to do this at Rio. So yeah, it's been great. Love it.
Well, let's talk about your journey to Rio. You, like a lot of guys on this team, has kind of a unique road to get to Rio Hondo, which I think is great. Most kids go to CARE and then they hear about the school and they end up going there. You did not participate in CARE Youth League. You've been playing water polo since you were 8 years old. But how did you talk to me about your childhood and kind of how you ended up at Rio Hondo Prep your freshman year?
Yeah, so I grew up in Pasadena, and I was homeschooled from K through 5th grade. My mom was my teacher. My dad was the principal. So that was fun. With my two sisters, Rebecca, my older sister, and Kira, my younger sister. And then for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, I went to Bethany Christian School in Sierra Madre. And great school there, loved it. Not too many sports though. I played baseball there, but it's a very, very small school, similar to Rio. So not too many games that we get. And then my parents are they're friends with the Lang's parents. So when we were looking for a high school, they were talking and they're like, oh, they introduced us to Rio. Originally, I lived just a couple streets down from PHS. So I was interested in going to Pasadena High School, possibly play water polo there. But yeah, football was never in the picture.
Man, you never say never. That is so interesting. You never say never because you never know where things are going to land for you. And ending up at Rio, and then of course I was never going to play football, and then here you are now contributing on both sides of the ball. I got to ask real quick about homeschool because I've heard other guys talk about it. When you say homeschool, help me out, educate me here because I'm not so sure. Is it literally you and your family at like the kitchen table, or is it like I've heard that like other kids, it's like other kids come to like one setting, it's just a smaller, like other kids in the neighborhood or whatever, or is it just like you guys and the family?
So like 4 days a week, it was just like me and my sisters at the kitchen table working through our books, kind of at your own pace. Which that was really nice because I mean we could get 3 or 4 days worth of work done. We really worked hard in one day and then have the rest of the week off. So do whatever we want. That was fun. And then like the last day of the week, we usually went to like a co-op kind of. It's like classes my mom didn't teach. So like we took like science, art, Spanish, computer, other classes with a homeschool program with other homeschool kids.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Interesting. And so I don't know, I would feel like that would be kind of a smoother transition going from homeschooling to Rio Hondo because Rio Hondo is such a small school. You've talked to some of these other guys on the team who've gone from big public schools or even big private schools, but kind of going from homeschooling to that small middle school you talked about to Rio Hondo, kind of a pretty seamless transition.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think like you said, very seamless. Especially for my middle school, like very small, very a lot of the beliefs aligned with Rio, a lot of similar standards. So yeah, it was good transition.
Man, that's really cool. Now talk to me about water polo. You've been playing since you're 8 years old. How does one just end up in the pool and playing water polo? The other schools maybe play that here in Southern California, but us at Rio don't know much about it. Talk to me about your water polo days.
Yeah, so my dad played in high school, and when I was little, like I said, 8 years old, he introduced me to the sport. He really wanted me to play. Um, I mean, yeah, it's a very physical, high energy sport. Lots of conditioning. Um, yeah, something Rio doesn't have, unfortunately, but I still am able to play club at the Rose Bowl. So that's kind of where I'm still playing. Um, yeah, I mean, it's really physical sport.
So club water polo, you're able to still play athletics at Rio. Is it kind of like this is a thing after school you go to play on the weekends, and kind of what's the club water polo season kind of year round?
Yeah, so high school's water polo season is during the fall, during football. And then club season starts November, and then it goes all the way to the end of the summer. And kind of our schedule is Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9. So I get home from practice at 4:30 or 5. Usually have an hour to do homework or eat dinner, and then I head over to the Rose Bowl for practice from 7 to 9 every night, or pretty much every night. So still able to do spring, winter sports, and then weekends are during competition seasons more. So like in February to June or July, every weekend's pretty much booked up. Usually have to be tournaments on Saturday and Sunday, 4 games a weekend. Yeah, pretty much weekends are all taken up. So busy schedule.
Man, you are a busy guy. A lot of time management going in there that I know will benefit you later in life. What about some water polo? I don't know much about the sport. I know it's physical, and can you literally just tackle guys in the pool? What are some like penalties or fouls in this in water polo?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that goes on into the water that the refs don't see because the refs are on the deck. So, I mean, pretty much anything goes as long as the ref doesn't see it. So, I mean, there's a lot of kicking, shoving, scratching, elbowing, not quite drowning, but pretty close to that. And I mean, fouls can be there. You can get as many fouls in a game as you want, but that's kind of just the other player exaggerating a call. But then what what the more intense is ejections. That's kind of like the refs will, if they see you, they'll kick you out. You get 3 ejections in a game. It's more like like really like shoving a guy underwater, doing some dirty move, punching him, kicking him. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that goes on.
Man, it's like probably 10 times what goes on in the trenches on the line of scrimmage. That's for sure. It sounds, and no pads, right? You get little helmets, I think, or something, right?
Yeah, I just got a little cap, and then you have ear guards on it, so you don't get punched or kicked in the ear. But yeah, no protection pretty much.
Wow. So football's a lot safer, it seems like, for you to all that gear on. But
Yeah, but I'd say like the worst injury you could probably get in water polo is probably like a bloody nose, broken nose. Even though you don't have too much protection, like I said, padding. So
well, fun stuff, man. So you want to continue playing water polo maybe after high school, you were telling me?
yeah, my goal is to play in college. I'm not quite sure what level I play. Looking at possibly playing a Division 2, possibly Division 1. It really depends on how this club season goes. Junior year, it's a big year, so it's a long season. So I'll kind of know more about that, more clarity at the beginning of next school year where I want to go. So yeah, it's a big decision.
Sounds like you got some options. You're only a junior, so another year of it going on, and yeah, wherever you can play, man, doesn't matter the level, especially if you can get some of your education paid for. But you sound like quite a student as well, a student in the classroom. You seem to be one of those guys that, I don't know if you like school, but you do well at school. What are some of the, I don't know, favorite classes you're liking, or kind of and also what would you kind of look into studying after high school?
Favorite classes, easily you can say science is my favorite subject. But recently I'm also enjoying literature with Mr. Horton. He's a great teacher, always makes it interesting. Never know what's going to happen in class that day.
Yeah.
But yeah, science is my favorite subject, specifically biology. I would like to study marine biology in college. So I'll have to figure out a college that has both water polo and marine biology. But yeah, that's kind of plans after high school.
You're just a water guy then altogether, man. It's
Yeah.
Aquaman. You got any nicknames on the team from teammates or coaches?
Yeah, I mean, kind of Aquaman. That's been a couple guys use that. They always talk about like sometimes like friendly fights at school or whatever. And there's some big kids at school they know how to fight, but I always tell them I might not be able to take you down on land, but once we get in the water, that's my realm.
I have no doubt about that. You're pretty good on the line of scrimmage as well. You seem to be enjoying this year. A tough loss last night, of course, but this team has been playing well. I think there's definitely some things that they need to clean up with these last few weeks of the season. Talk to me about just this year, 2023, this football team, maybe some of your teammates, and just kind of, I don't know what the year has been like. Only one game left in the regular season, and hopefully a few more after that. But yeah, I mean, just your junior year of football, what's it been like?
Wow, yeah, it's gone by fast. It's crazy to think that this was week 9. I mean, it's great team. I love my teammates. All kind of started beginning of the summer trip. It was great to go on. A lot of team bonding. And I think we have a really great group of guys. Great upperclassmen leading the lowerclassmen. And a lot of talent too. Distributed throughout the whole team between the line and skill positions. I mean, yeah, usually you see the skill positions get most of the glory, right, for touchdowns or whatnot. But I mean, we have some great linemen too that are really working hard this year. So it's great to see. I mean, like I said, teammates, great. Besides football players too, all quality people. Love going to school with them, being friends outside of football too. Yeah, just a great environment.
It sure sounds like it. And you mentioned that summer trip. That was a first for most of you guys going on a summer trip, and you guys seem to really, really enjoy that. What was that like for you? Maybe a favorite couple places you stayed? Any fun memories?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to say the whole thing is a great memory. I'd say highlights mean just being with 50 guys and sleeping in the same place, living with each other for a month. I'd say definitely a highlight was Florida, at Universal there. That was a lot of fun. a lot of the guys peer pressured me to go on the big roller coasters, and I hate roller coasters. So I actually learned to like them a little more. That was a lot of fun. New York was fun, walking through Times Square. That was something, I mean, I hadn't been to a lot of places there before on the East Coast. So that was a great experience. See some new things. Historic as well, a lot of monuments. That was really interesting. Yeah, I mean, I had a great time just hanging out with my friends. So.
You can't beat it, man. And then you got to come back and go to school. It's like, oh, let's do that again. That sounds like a blast. At least football was there. Ivan, you've been around, I'm sure, a lot of coaches in water polo days and things like that. But the coaching staff at Rio, I think, is special, and they challenge you guys. They work hard with you guys. They care about you guys. If you could talk about Coach Carson and the coaching staff and what it's like playing for him and his staff.
Yeah, I mean, at Rio, it's a much different experience than, I mean, obviously my club. A lot of the coaches, they're much more personal. I love that about them. They really get to know you. They want to know about you. They want to help you not only with your sports, but your spiritual life as well. They're a mentor. They're not just a coach. And yeah, I mean, all the coaches, they're really great. Coach Carson, Coach AJ, Coach JT, Coach Ed, Coach Drain. I mean, they're all, they want to know you. They want to help you with the sport. But more importantly, they want to help you grow in your relationship with the Lord. And I think that's a great thing that you really don't get other places, other schools. So yeah, I mean, it's such a blessing to have that at Rio. So.
Sounds great. Yeah, as we wrap it up here, I just want to talk about like Rio Hondo football, kind of what it means to you, what you've been on the field now for 2 years. You didn't grow up watching Rio football as like so many kids did, but you got thrown into it. That first year, your freshman year as a manager, seemed like you bought into the brotherhood and were like, I really, really like this and want to be a part of it. So if you could, man, sum up what playing football at Rio Hondo is like, maybe for someone listening that is looking forward to it, or maybe even doesn't know anything about it, a junior high kid, a little kid, or just whoever.
Yeah, I mean, when you go out there and you suit up with your numbers, I mean, it means a lot more than probably even I understand. There's a whole legacy that you're representing out there of Rio Hondo Prep football, and that means a lot. There's a lot of great players that have gone through Rio and represented the school well, and you're really representing them and past teams, past players. I mean, it's great. It's a great program. I'm glad I came. And yeah, I mean, if you're looking forward, you should look forward to play Rio Hondo Prep football because it's just great program to be with.
Well said. Not a bad way to wrap things up. Ivan Tkach, thank you so much for joining me, man. It's been a pleasure watching you the past 2 years and getting to know you a little bit here behind the scenes. By the way, Tkach, what's the background on that name? Where's that's a very unique last name. I happen to know a thing or two about that as well. So where's Tkach from?
Ukraine. My grandpa came from Ukraine when he was 5. He immigrated to the U.S. So yeah, Tkach is Ukrainian.
Wow, that's really cool, man. I didn't know that. I've wanted to ask you that for a few months now. Never got around to it. So Ivan Tkach, the underwater Ukrainian, I don't know what to call you, man. You just Aquaman, I think fits pretty well. So thanks for joining me, Ivan. Good luck the rest of the way, man. Keep working hard. Keep your head up. Tough loss last night, but I know you guys will bounce back. Just means to work a little harder, which I know you know a thing or two about being so schedule regimented with water polo and everything.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Matt.
You got it, Ivan. See you soon, man.
Yeah.
Well, just another shining example as to the young men that are on the Rio Hondo Prep football team. I thoroughly enjoy getting a chance to talk with these guys week in and week out. And sometimes we don't know where the conversation is going to go. We just start chatting and usually have a great time. So to Ivan Tkach and to the Tkach family, thank you so much for being on the podcast and being such great supporters of Rio Hondo Prep football. Looking forward to the rest of your junior year and a very exciting senior year for Ivan next year. And I think one of his sisters was one of the homecoming princesses. I hope I didn't mess that up, but I thought I announced that a few weeks ago. So the Tkach family, there's so many great families on this team. The Curtis family, the Tkach family, the Johnson, I mean, I can name them all, but I'd forget somebody. The Mustaine family. I mean, it's just so many people that have jumped off the page, and it's just like such a blessing that we're all kind of connected right in this thing. When I started this, I really wasn't sure who was going to buy in, if people were going to be like, oh, that's kind of goofy and weird. And all the alumni seem to really love it, love the connection there. The parents, though, really have loved the time capsule of these episodes and being able to, get motivated for games and then react to games as well. And the great storylines in the summer. It's a tremendous blessing to do this, and I'm privileged to do it. I don't know what's going to happen when it all goes away in a few long weeks, right, guys? Anyway, we'll see what happens the next few weeks. Big game this week against Campbell Hall. We got to kind of flush the Brentwood game on and move on to a worthy opponent and finish the season strong and get into the playoffs. If you remember correctly, guys, I don't want to stress too much on things of the past, but if you think the little things don't matter, just remember that last game you lost by 1 point. Blowouts, you're kind of like, oh, okay, well, we got destroyed. But if you don't think little things matter, think of the last game you lost by 1 point. And I remember when that was. It was the playoffs just last year. Just how I talked to Coach Carson, how thin the margin is, right, between good and great. And you know what? If you want to hang a banner at Rio Hondo, sometimes it takes doing a little extra, a little more, and to kind of win that inch, if you know what I mean. So get the margin of victory, the margin of success is so thin and so fine. And I'm excited for these boys to step up and to answer the challenge and to jump up off the canvas with honor and to really make us even more proud of them than we currently are. And to the rest of us, hey, sometimes bad weeks happen, bad days happen. As I mentioned to you, I've been going through some things, and you just got to keep waking up and keep showing up and, all right, I got to work harder. Right. And so again, a blessing to do the podcast. Thank you so much for everyone who tunes in and who shares it, and the constant videos and the support. It's been incredible. And I'm just thrilled that it has taken shape the way that it has. So we will be back on Thursday night for the pregame show, Rio Hondo against Campbell Hall in week 10. What did I tell you guys in the summer? I said 10 weeks, 11 weeks. They're going to fly by. And before you know it, boom, here we are, week 10, last game of the regular season. And then hopefully a few playoff games. It's time to jump on the postseason bus, right? We got to win Friday to make sure that we're in. And let's make sure that we get everybody there nice and early for that 1973 50th anniversary of Rio's first championship. Honor those guys, because again, as Ivan mentioned, as Coach Carson has mentioned, this program is so much more than the current team. And I want to promote the current team and cheer for them as hard as we can, but we also honor the legacy that is Rio Hondo Prep. And these current young men will be those old men really, really soon. Time blinks, right? We talked about 10 weeks of the season. And let me tell you something, 20, 21 years now for me has flown by. I'm like, wait a minute. I just took my helmet off. What happened? Now I'm an old man. I'm just like, what is happening? Anyway, I'm not that old, but I feel old. Anyway, enough rambling, guys. As I mentioned, this story has an ending that is yet to be determined, and it's up to the young men and the coaching staff to see if it has been a good book, if it has been a good movie. The plot has thickened, we'll say, with this adversity, but no great story has been written without some adversity, some trials and tribulations. And I know that the greatest moments of my life have come after conquering through some tough things. And I'm trying to keep that in my mind right now with some current things. And I'm excited for these guys. And just again, when things are rough, the going gets tough, the tough get going, right? Or whatever the phrase is. Anyway, I like my book analogy a little bit better. So we're at that turning point. The first 9 weeks of the season are over. It's been pretty much smooth sailing with some bumps and bruises, and then got our teeth kicked in last night. And it's all about how you respond. So it didn't feel good. No, the boys don't feel good. Nobody feels good. It's time to respond and to feel good again, and to not be satisfied with one victory, with 2 victories, but just in being our best when our best is determined. So we'll see you Thursday night for the pregame show. Be sure to tune in. I got actually a couple of special, let's see how many. I have a special group of guys who are the guests on the podcast on Thursday. So you don't want to miss the pregame show. Be sure to tune into that, whether on the way to the game or Thursday night or whenever you listen to it. It's a fun one. It's a great way to wrap up the 2023 season of pregame shows. And I'm excited to release that one. Hey, I'm in good spirits. Tough loss, but we keep chugging, right? We knew it would be difficult. Let's go. Do not surrender. This season is not over. It's time to step up. It's time to get going. And that means all of us. That means all of us RHP fans. I'm looking at myself after last night's game. What could I have done better, right? We all could do a little bit better. Let's have a great week, and let's come in firing on Friday with a positive attitude that we are going to punch our ticket to the postseason with authority. And once The brackets are released Sunday. We'll see what happens, man. It's going to be exciting times. I hope you guys are ready. I'm ready. I'm going to take a little breather now from podcasting today and maybe a little more tomorrow. Anyway, lots going on. Let's do this, guys. Get up off the canvas, keep swinging. And as always, guys, in closing our shows, we like to offer a friendly reminder that Rio Hondo Prep football, it's all about being humble in victory and gracious in defeat, because we always have a charge to keep.
A charge to keep I have, a God to glorify, a never-dying soul to save, and fit it for the sky. Arm me with jealous care, as in thy sight to live, and O thy servant, Lord, prepare a strict account to give.